You've heard of conspiracy theories. Probably. You might have believed in a few. But if you're laughing, think about this. That's what they want you to do. You think conspiracy theorists are crazy? That's what they want you to think. Number 8. NASA and the moon landings. On July 20th, 1969, there was a giant leap for mankind as Neil Armstrong took a step on the lunar surface. But did he? According to the author of the 1976 self-published book, We Never Went to the Moon, America's $30 billion Swindle, Bill Kaysing, a former US Navy officer with a Bachelor of Arts in English, without a background in either technical writing or rocket knowledge, alleged that this momentous event did not occur. More accusations followed, memorably from the Flat Earth Society in 1980. Their argument: NASA staged the landings with help of Walt Disney, founded on a script by renowned science fiction writer Arthur C. Clarke, and directed by incredibly influential filmmaker Stanley Kubrick. Let's just take a moment to soak in the enormity of this hoax. Some background. The supposed moon landings took place in the context of the Cold War, in which the US fought mightily, without actually fighting, against the USSR for world supremacy, in a conflict of the communist ideology versus capitalism or democracy. Something like that. It's probably more complicated than that. Why would NASA make up this earth-shaking news? To win the space race. Yeah, the US cheated in the contest. Loser. Number 7. The New World Order of the Illuminati. A secretive power elite is conspiring to create a totalitarian world government. Can this be possible? Of course not. They already have taken control. Obviously, this new world order is the inevitable culmination of human history's progress. How is this cabal carrying out their globalist agenda? Members operate through front organizations designed to conceal the reality that they're orchestrating or otherwise influencing both national and international political and financial events. In effect, the real actors are performing behind the scenes. That's kinda terrifying, just a little. American countercultures, such as the extreme anti-government right and fundamentalist Christianity obsessed with end time / the appearance of the Antichrist. Starting in the late 20th and early 21st centuries, however, this conspiracy theory has infiltrated popular culture to the extent that people began serious active preparation for an imminent apocalypse. Political scientists worry that mass hysteria will bring out an apocalypse much more effectively than the Illuminati possibly could. That would be remarkably embarrassing for humankind if people inaugurated the apocalypse by trying to stop it from happening. I mean, really, mankind's history has had enough stupidity, right? Am I right? Number 6. Elvis Presley faked his death in 1977. The rock and roll king is dead. Apparently not. Fans continue to claim that he remains alive and went into hiding. Thousands have seen him since his purported death. The fact that there have been probably hundreds of the intentional king lookalikes in Las Vegas alone, don't quote me on the numbers, doesn't make a dent in this conspiracy theory that gyrating baritone could be hiding among them. Proof of the cover-up include an intentional name misspelling on Presley's tombstone, which says Aaron with 2 A's instead of Aaron with 1 A as his middle name. Why is this important? Because, skeptics believe, it would be horrible to put his real name, Aaron, on the tombstone while the king was still alive. Yeah, but Presley did start spelling his middle name as Aaron instead of Aaron later in life. That doesn't count as proof that he's died in 1977, despite the word of several doctors and a coroner, now does it? Okay, I lied. Presley really is dead, but his death actually took place in the mid-1990s. Hey, that makes a difference in his life. Number 5. Paul McCartney has been dead since 1966. To offset the happy news that Elvis Presley lived a long life, Beatles bass guitarist and singer Paul McCartney died in a car crash on November 9th, 1966. Wait, then who's that Paul McCartney guy that looks like and sounds like and acts like Paul McCartney today? An imposter, of course. Everything he's achieved since the real McCartney's death is fraud. There was no messy situation with Yoko. He couldn't have been involved. Linda Eastman wasn't his wife. He didn't have 4 children. His divorce with Heather Mills never occurred. The 1997 knighting by Queen Elizabeth? A farce. Why would there be a cover-up of McCartney's demise? The surviving Beatles were in on it. News of his death would have wrecked the band, which broke apart soon anyway. As a result, the Beatles hire a William Campbell or a Billy Shears or whoever. The clues are there. The Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club had lyrics like "Paul is dead, miss him, which you could only hear when played backwards. The drum logo of Lonely Hearts can be read as 111 X he die 111. John Lennon admitted that he buried Paul in a song, Strawberry Fields Forever. He said that he'd mouthed the word cranberry sauce, but conspiracy theorists know better than to believe that. To this day, Paul McCartney continues to be either alive or dead. Number 4. The JFK assassination. On November 22nd, 1963, President John F. Kennedy was struck by 2 bullets and killed by Lee Harvey Oswald. Or was he? Undisputedly, Kennedy is dead. But did Oswald act alone? Certainly not. CIA agents upset over the Bay of Pigs invasion could have been in on the conspiracy to assassinate Kennedy. Or maybe mobsters angry with Kennedy's brother for beginning a prosecution of organized crime rings. The Soviet Union or China were possible culprits. We can't ask Oswald, who was killed by Jack Ruby 2 days later as revenge for Kennedy's death. That really helped the investigation discover the motive. In the aftermath of Kennedy's death, now President Lyndon Johnson named Supreme Court Chief Justice Earl Warren to lead an independent inquiry of the matter. The Warren Commission's conclusion: Oswald did not have assistance in killing Kennedy. But the House of Representatives Select Committee on Assassinations report stated that there was a high probability that 2 gunmen fired. I should mention the term grassy knoll, which is the theory that Kennedy's killer wasn't Oswald at all, but a person firing from the ground. The declassification and release of official records by the National Archives have only served to cause the proliferation of more conspiracy theories, because, well, there weren't enough already. Number 3. Fluoridation. You may have seen the term fluoride before, likely listed in your toothpaste or mouth rinse ingredients. Why? Fluoride reduces tooth decay, so it's innocuous enough to add to water, right? Or is it? There are, say conspiracy theorists, harmful effects from fluoride. Then why would whoever's putting fluoride in the water put, well, fluoride in the water? Drug companies. They'll profit from a sick population. That's why. Not only that, a very possible motive is that fluoride makes you, stupidly speaking, dumber. If the entire population of water drinkers, aka every human alive in the world, is affected by this idiot-inducing effect, that would make us... You see where this is going? Yeah, neither do I. Anyway, it's a conspiracy theory. This is a classic case of the common good versus individual rights. Huh? Exactly. In essence, it's similar to vaccination. You gotta have it. Nope, say opponents. I'm paraphrasing. The practice of fluoridation is medically unethical, and anyway, it has little to no health benefits. The medical, including of course dental associations, community tends to agree that water fluoridation is safe and effective. But we're not imbeciles. We know what's really going on, whatever that is. Number 2, the Philadelphia experiment. This one isn't clearly visible to the naked eye. Why? Because it's invisible. Let me explain. In October 1943, there was a military experiment that was supposed to bend a light around an object at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. This went wrong, predictably, and as a result, the US Navy destroyer Eldridge blinked out of visibility. Fine, there's a second theory about how the Eldridge was transported through space and time, but I couldn't fit that neatly into a headline, now can I? And that effect is hardly as interesting as being rendered invisible. Horrific stories of how sailors somehow melded with the ship's metal superstructure continue to circulate, despite the US Navy denying that the experiment ever took place. Why would it take place in the first place? World War II was going on, and a sea battle raging between American destroyers and U-boat Nazi submarines. To be honest, the Navy did conduct experiments to make naval vessels invisible, which were failures, right? But how would we know that? We can't see that they're not there. Number 1, Shakespeare's true identity. Shakespeare wasn't who you thought he was. To get to the point, he wasn't Shakespeare. What the? Yeah, English language's greatest writer could have been Francis Bacon, Christopher Marlowe, William Stanley. The list can continue to more obscure historical figures, but I'm gonna stop there. Oh, the Shakespearean works exist. That fact is unarguable because they just do, as every English literature student can attest. But they weren't written by Shakespeare, the businessman and the actor. Theorists argue that Shakespeare can't be Shakespeare. There's so little biographical information known about him that we can't be sure he's actually him. But why can't he be not him? That's my question. Are you a believer, or more accurately, a disbeliever? A theorist or a skeptic? Let us know in the comment section and feel free to state your opinion. Thanks for your time. You're welcome.